the village of quiet beginnings. If you're lying down, you may let your eyes grow heavier and heavier as the story begins to drift around you, like a soft blanket of night. Let the day fall away. Let your thoughts loosen. Let every sound around you grow softer, like the world is dimming its lights just for you. And now, we drift into the story. There was once a village tucked between gentle green hills, a quiet place where the air always smelled of pine and warm earth and the soft sweetness of morning mist. In that peaceful village lived a young traveler, someone kind, curious, and quietly longing for something more. Their life had always been simple, filled with small routines and familiar paths and voices they had known forever. Things came and went in a gentle rhythm, like waves brushing ashore. But every evening, when the last sunlight slipped behind the hills, a soft stirring rose in their chest, a feeling like a distant melody, calling them somewhere they had not yet seen. This feeling wasn't loud. It wasn't urgent. It was just there, a whisper waiting to be answered. Tonight, the whisper grew just a little stronger. The travelers stepped outside their home and stood beneath the quiet sky. Stars were blooming overhead, one by one, each glowing like a tiny lantern hung by the universe. The wind moved gently through the grass, making it sway in long, sleepy waves. Soft, steady, soothing. Everything was calm. Everything felt safe. And yet, the traveler knew that tomorrow would not be the same. Tomorrow, they would follow the whisper. They didn't know where it led, but they knew this. It was time, so they packed slowly, carefully, a warm cloak, some bread, a little journal, and a hope, quiet but bright, that the world beyond the hills would welcome them kindly. When they closed their eyes that night, they didn't feel fear, only a gentle excitement, like the world was waiting for them, with open arms. Morning arrived like a soft sigh. Light spilled gently across the hills, turning the grass gold, and the village roofs warm and glowing. The travelers stepped onto the path, with slow, steady breaths. Their footsteps made the faintest sound, a whisper against the earth. They looked behind them once, just once, at the village that had shaped them, cradled them, loved them quietly. Then they turned and began walking. The world ahead was wide and unknowable, but somehow it felt comforting, like stepping into a dream that had been waiting for them for a very long time. The path led toward a forest, tall, serene, full of ancient trees that leaned together, like old friends. As the travelers stepped beneath the branches, the light dimmed into a soft emerald glow. Birds fluttered gently between leaves. The earth smelled rich and deep. Every sound seemed hushed, as if the forest knew someone special had entered. After a time, a slow, wandering time, filled with calm breath and steady footsteps, the traveler heard movement beside the path. Someone else was there. From between two old trees stepped another traveler, a gentle wanderer with soft eyes, and a voice that carried warmth, like a small hearth fire. "Are you heading beyond the hills?" they asked, smiling softly. The young traveler nodded. The wanderer's smile deepened, kind and easy. "Then let us walk together. Journeys are softer when shared." And just like that, with no need for questions or explanations, the traveler found their first companion. They walked side by side, silence settling comfortably between them, like two notes of the same quiet melody. As the morning grew into gentle afternoon, the forest grew deeper, its roots twisting softly across the ground, its branches forming graceful, protective arches overhead. Sunlight slipped through in thin golden ribbons, dancing slowly across the moss. The traveler and their companion moved at an unhurried pace. There was no destination yet, no urgency, only exploration and presence, and the quiet feeling that they were exactly where they needed to be. At times, the companion hummed softly, a tune that seemed to match the rhythm of the forest itself. At other times, the traveler simply breathed and let the stillness soak into them. Like warm light, hours passed this way, but not the kind of hours that tire you. These were soft hours, the kind that make the mind heavier and the body calmer. The air grew cooler. Shadows stretched gently across the forest floor, and then they saw it, half hidden beneath ivies and soft moss. An ancient stone stood tilted beside the path. Intricate carvings covered it, spirals, symbols, patterns that felt strangely familiar, even though the traveler had never seen them before. Something in the symbols seemed to glow, just faintly, like remnants of old magic. Still resting inside, the traveler reached out and placed their fingers on the cool, smooth carving. A soft hum rose from the stone, a pulse, gentle, welcoming. The companion watched quietly, a look of recognition in their eyes. "It seems," they whispered, "that the forest knows you." The traveler didn't understand yet, but they felt no fear, only a calm curiosity, a warmth spreading slowly from the stone into their hand and then into their heart. The whisper inside them, the one that had called them from home, felt clearer now, as if it had found its first answer. Evening settled slowly over the forest. The travelers found a small clearing where soft grass spread like a natural bed, and fireflies drifted lazily in the air. They gathered small branches, placed them gently in a circle, and lit a small fire. The flames rose quietly, not crackling loudly, but whispering softly, like a lullaby of glowing light. They ate simple food, shared silent smiles, and watched embers drift upward into the deepening sky. Above them, stars peeked through branches. The night held them softly, tenderly, as if cradling them in ancient hands. The traveler lay back on the soft earth, their head resting lightly against their pack. The companion's voice came, low and kind. "There is more waiting for you in this world than you can yet imagine, and I will walk with you for as long as you'll have me." The traveler felt a swell of comfort, a warmth deeper than the fire. They closed their eyes and breathed slowly, and slowly, slowly, sleep drifted toward them like a soft tide. And as they slept beneath the stars, the whisper inside them, that gentle calling, seemed to smile, for the journey had only just begun, and tomorrow would carry them deeper into the quiet wonders of the world beyond the hills. Rest now. We will continue soon. The night passed gently, and morning arrived, not with a sudden brightness, but with a soft, pale glow that filtered through the trees, like warm breath drifting across still water. The travelers slowly opened their eyes. For a moment, they didn't move. They simply listened. The forest was waking. Birdsong rose in small waves, each note delicate and unhurried. Leaves rustled in the faintest breeze, their edges touching one another, with a soft, shushing sound, like the forest was still half asleep. The companion was already awake, sitting near the dying embers of the fire, their expression calm and thoughtful, as they watched the light grow between the branches. When the travelers stirred, the companion's eyes softened. "Good morning," they whispered, as if speaking too loudly might disturb the dreams still lingering in the air. They shared a simple meal, warm bread, a few berries found nearby, and fresh water that tasted clean and cool. Every movement was slow, unrushed, the kind of rhythm that makes the heart quiet and the mind soft. As they ate, the traveler couldn't help glancing toward the direction of the stone they had discovered yesterday. Something about it still glowed softly. In their memory, the companion noticed. It called to you. They said gently, "Not everyone feels those carvings, only those meant to follow them." The traveler lowered their gaze, unsure what to say, but the warmth in their chest, that steady, glowing feeling, responded for them. They wanted to follow. The companion gave a small nod, as if hearing the unspoken thought. Then today, they said, the forest will show us more. They packed their things, with slow, steady motions. No rush, no haste. Every action had a softness to it, a patience that matched the forest itself. When they were ready, the companion led the way, along a winding path, barely visible beneath the undergrowth. The deeper they walked, the cooler the air became, carrying a scent, like old roots, and dew, and gentle secrets. Sunlight slipped between branches, in long narrow beams, dust like motes floating lazily through them. The traveler breathed deeply, letting the cool, earthy scent fill their lungs. Step by step, the world grew quieter, and yet more alive. Birds watched from high branches. A small creature darted through ferns. Somewhere far off, water trickled softly, a tiny stream speaking in murmurs. Everything felt attentive, as though the forest were listening to their footsteps and welcoming them further. After some time, an hour, maybe two, though no one measured, the traveler began to notice something peculiar. A faint sound, drifting in and out, between their breaths. Not quite a voice, but not quite wind either. A whisper, subtle, distant, rhythmic, like leaves speaking a language older than memory. The traveler paused, keenly listening. The companion turned. "You hear it, don't you?" The traveler nodded softly. The whisper pulsed again, gentle, slow, like someone humming through the layers of the earth. "It is the forest guiding us," the companion explained. "The deeper we go, the clearer it becomes." They kept walking, and with every step, the whisper grew warmer, not louder, just more present. It curled around the traveler's thoughts, with a soothing familiarity, as though it had been calling them their entire life. Eventually, the path widened into a clearing, a wide circle of moss, so thick and soft, it looked like nature's own resting place. Trees ringed the perimeter, their branches leaning inward, as if bowing toward the center. Light poured into the clearing, in calm golden sheets, and the air felt warmer here, almost tender. The travelers stepped onto the moss, and felt it cushion their feet, as though holding them gently. "This place," the companion murmured, "is old, older than the stones, older than the carvings, older than our stories." The traveler walked to the center, and felt the moss pulse faintly beneath their steps, not like a heartbeat, but like a slow breath, in and out. The forest seemed to breathe with them. For a moment, the traveler closed their eyes and simply let that rhythm surround them. If there were any worries lingering in their mind, the forest released them, carried them upward, into the soft light. The companion approached gently. "This place remembers," they said softly. The traveler opened their eyes. "What does it remember?" they asked, their voice barely above a whisper. "Those who walk this path before you, A small smile. Seekers. Dreamers. People who felt the world's quiet call, just as you did. The traveler felt a warmth blossom in the center of their chest. They weren't alone, not just in this moment, but in their purpose. Others had followed this whisper. In ages long past, others had stood in this very clearing, wondering, hoping, searching gently. The traveler breathed slowly, letting the moss cradle them, letting the ancient energy wrap around them like a quiet embrace. The roots shifted like stepping stones, forming a gentle slope downward into a shaded grove. This place was cooler, the air thicker, with the smell of old bark and river stone. The traveler and companion walked slowly, their footsteps soft, their breath steady. The whispering sound seemed to flow ahead of them, leading them deeper into the forest's heart. Every now and then, the traveler felt a faint vibration beneath their feet, not unsettling, but soothing, like a cat purring from within the earth. The forest was speaking in its quiet, ancient way, and the traveler was beginning to understand. Soon, the path opened into a narrow riverbank. But this river did not move with noise. Its flow was so gentle that it seemed perfectly still, like liquid glass. The water glowed faintly from beneath the surface, a soft silver shimmer that made the entire grove feel like a dream gently breathing. The companion knelt beside the water. This river, they said softly, is older than the forest itself. It carries the memories of the land, and it reflects only truth. The traveler stared into the surface. The reflection that looked back was gentle, calm, and surrounded by light. It sees you, the companion murmured, and it knows you are ready to continue. They followed the riverbank for what felt like a timeless stretch. Not long, not short, just right. The river hummed softly, its glow pulsing in slow, calming waves. Birds perched quietly on low branches, their heads tilted, as if listening. Even the wind seemed to watch respectfully. Finally, the whispering current of the forest's voice shifted direction, turning gently, beckoning them across a natural stone bridge covered in soft moss. The travelers stepped onto the bridge. Beneath it, the glowing water moved silently, casting ripples of silver light across the underside of the leaves. Each step forward felt lighter than the last, as though the bridge carried them softly, effortlessly. And when they reached the other side, the forest felt different, deeper, older, wiser, but still gentle, always gentle. The companion looked around slowly, breathing in the cool, rich scent of the deeper wood. We have crossed into the oldest part of the forest, they said quietly. Things here move slowly, speak softly, and dream endlessly. The traveler felt the whispering call settle warmly in their chest. It felt like a promise, a guiding thread, a quiet assurance that they were meant to be here, right now, walking a path that had waited for them since long before they were born. The sky dimmed gradually as evening returned, the kind of evening that seems to sigh gently through the branches. The traveler and companion found a sheltered spot beneath two broad trees, whose roots formed a natural cradle of earth. They built another small fire, small enough not to disturb the forest, but warm enough to bathe them in soft golden light. The flames flickered slowly, casting shadows that moved like sleepy spirits across the ground. The companion spoke quietly, their voice warm and steady. Tomorrow, the forest will show us something important. But tonight, we rest. The traveler nodded, feeling their eyelids grow heavy as the fire crackled softly, like a distant lullaby. They lay down on a bed of soft moss and leaves, pulling their cloak gently over their body. The air was cool, but comforting, wrapping around them, like the embrace of a calm night. Above, stars glittered faintly through openings in the canopy. The whispering forest settled into silence, and the traveler drifted, slowly, deeply, peacefully, into sleep. The dawn that greeted the traveler the next morning rose slowly, as though it, too, wished to linger in silence. A pale gold light stretched its fingers across the clearing, slipping between the trees, brushing the soft moss where the traveler had slept. For a long moment, the traveler simply lay still, letting the warmth gather over them like a blanket woven by the sky itself. There was no hurry now, only the unhurried rhythm of breath, and the easy certainty that the road ahead would reveal itself, one gentle step at a time. The whispering woods remained quiet as the traveler packed their small bundle of belongings. But this time, the silence felt different. Not like a quiet that hides things, but like a quiet that follows you with affection, wishing you well on your way. And so, with a last glance toward the place where the faint lights had danced the night before, the travelers stepped forward, and the forest seemed to exhale softly behind them. The woods thinned gradually, branches opening like curtains being pulled aside. Soon the traveler found themselves standing on the crest of a gentle hill that overlooked a long, shimmering valley. At first glance, it appeared to be filled with water, but then the light shifted, and the traveler realized that countless small pools lay scattered among the grass, each one reflecting the sky in its own quiet way. It was as if the heavens had dropped tiny pieces of itself across the land. The traveler made their way down the slope, moving slowly, savoring the hush of morning. The pools trembled slightly whenever a breeze passed over them, sending ripples of sky washing across their surfaces. In one pool, the traveler saw the clouds drifting lazily. In another, the reflection of distant mountains. In a third, the shimmering outline of their own face, softened, dreamlike, as though the valley were painting them with gentler strokes. As the traveler walked, the pools began to align in patterns, curving rows, spirals, and slow winding shapes that seemed to guide their steps deeper into the valley. There was no sound except the faint whisper of grass brushing against their boots. No urgency, no decision to make. Just walking, just breathing, just being carried forward by the quiet patterns of the land. And somewhere inside, the traveler felt something ease, an old knot of worry loosening grain by grain. Eventually, the valley opened into a wide, perfect lake, still as glass. Its surface reflected the sky so clearly that it was difficult to see where the world ended and the reflection began. The travelers stood at the edge, watching their own silhouette melt softly into the water, broken only by the occasional drifting leaf. A small wooden pier reached into the lake, barely more than a few planks held together by rope. At the end of it sat a tiny boat, rounded, weathered, and gently rocking as if nodding an invitation. There was no one else in sight. The lake was as empty and calm as a held breath. The travelers stepped carefully onto the pier. The wood creaked in a friendly way, and the water below stirred only slightly, as if waking from a long nap. With a slow inhale, the travelers settled into the little boat. It pushed away from the pier without effort, as though it had been waiting for this moment. No oars were needed. The boat simply drifted, carried by a current so gentle it was almost imperceptible. The traveler leaned back and let their eyes half close. Overhead, a bird traced a lazy arc across the sky. The air was cool, but not cold, fresh, but not sharp. A perfect balance, a space between waking and dreaming. The boat glided without sound, its reflection stretching across the water in a soft, wavering silhouette. The lake cradled it like a thoughtful guardian. Minutes passed, or perhaps hours. Time seemed to dissolve entirely. When the boat reached the far shore, the traveler stepped out onto warm sand. The air shimmered faintly, carrying the smell of distant dunes and sun-soaked grains. But this desert was unlike any other. Instead of harsh heat and blinding light, it felt gentle, like walking across warm pillows. Each step produced a soft SHFF, and each sound echoed just slightly, not in a loud or empty way, but like a memory repeating itself in a whisper. The echoes followed the traveler playfully. SHFF, 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 sometimes delayed, sometimes faint, sometimes returning with a hint of melody, as if the desert was singing a quiet song to accompany the journey. The dunes rose and fell like calm waves. Their edges were rounded, smoothed by years of patient wind. And as the traveler climbed one long slope, a soft breeze lifted grains of sand into the air, where they caught the sunlight and shimmered like drifting stars. At the top, the traveler paused. Below lay a sea of dunes stretching outward in every direction, undulating like a sleeping giant's breath. But despite the vastness, there was no fear, no sense of being lost, only the deep, comforting knowledge that the world was opening itself gently, revealing beauty one quiet layer at a time. By the time the traveler reached firmer ground again, twilight had begun to wash the sky with lavender tones. Ahead, a mountain rose, not steep, not cold, but grand in a calm, steady way. From within its cliffs came a low, rhythmic rumble, not frightening, almost like a heartbeat beneath stone. The traveler approached the mountain slowly. Each step brought the sound into clearer focus, a deep, steady pulse, ancient and unhurried. At the mountain's base, the traveler placed a hand on the stone. It was warm, vibrating faintly, like the purring of an enormous creature at rest. The rumble continued in long, slow intervals, each one rolling through the traveler's palm, up their arm, and into their chest, where it settled like a second heartbeat. The mountain wasn't warning. It was welcoming, inviting the traveler to match its rhythm, to breathe with it, to let their thoughts fall into alignment with its slow, grounding presence. And so the traveler sat, back against the mountain, letting the soft thunder wash through them again and again, until thoughts drifted, and mind softened, and everything inside grew quiet. The landscape grew dim. Stars began to appear, one by one, over the silhouette of the mountain. And for a long, peaceful while, the traveler simply rested there, held by the warmth of the stone, and the steady, ancient pulse beneath it. When the traveler finally opened their eyes again, night had fully settled. The desert winds were still, the sky wide and velvet dark. A small creature stood nearby, round, furry, with eyes that glowed faintly like polished amber. It seemed shy at first, tilting its head as though deciding whether to stay or flee. But then it stepped closer, soft paws barely making a sound on the sand. The creature sniffed the traveler's hand, blinked slowly, and then curled up beside them, the way animals do when they trust completely. The traveler smiled softly, feeling the creature's warmth press against their side. The mountain rumbled again, gentler now, almost like a lullaby. For a moment, nothing existed but the calm night, the warm stone, the tiny creature breathing quietly, and the vast, comforting stillness of the world. And as the traveler closed their eyes once more, they felt certain that they were exactly where they needed to be. Not lost, not wandering, just moving along the quiet paths that lead always toward gentle discoveries. Morning returned slowly, like a lantern being raised behind distant hills. The traveler awoke to the gentle glow of dawn stretching across the desert, its colors brushing the sky with pale gold, muted rose, and soft lavender. The furry creature from the night before still slept curled at their side, its tiny breaths rising and falling in a soothing rhythm. The mountain behind them remained warm, its ancient heartbeat pulsing faintly beneath the stone. For a moment, the travelers simply sat in the quiet, letting the world settle fully into waking. There was no rush, only the slow unfolding of another peaceful day on the wandering path. When at last the creature stirred, blinking up with glowing amber eyes, it gave a tiny, contented sound, then trotted ahead as if guiding the way. The traveler followed, steps soft on the warming sand. The mountain's rumble faded gradually, replaced by the gentle sigh of morning breeze sweeping across the dunes. And soon, a new landscape revealed itself. The desert opened into a narrow pass where tall cliffs rose on both sides, carved by centuries of quiet wind. But these cliffs were unlike any the traveler had seen before. Veins of pale crystal ran through the stone, catching the sunlight in long, shimmering ribbons. When the wind brushed across their surfaces, the crystals chimed, soft, delicate tones, like the faint ringing of distant bells. The sound echoed through the pass in gentle ripples. The little creature paused beside the traveler, looking up at the glowing lines with wide interest. It tapped one with its paw. A soft note rang out, clear and pure, drifting upward into the sunlight. The traveler smiled, trailing their fingers along the stone. Each crystal strand carried a slightly different voice, creating a natural symphony that rose and fell with the wind's breath. Walking through the pass felt like moving inside a quiet, living instrument. Each step revealed new tones, new shimmering reflections, new gentle harmonies woven into the air. The cliffs grew taller as the path narrowed, until the sky was visible only as a thin ribbon of blue above. But instead of feeling enclosed, the traveler felt held, as though the land itself was guiding them deeper into something sacred. After some time, the pass opened again, revealing a vast cavern entrance framed by a natural arch of crystal. Light gathered there, bending itself in soft waves through the translucent stone. It was neither blinding nor sharp. It glowed like moonlight warmed by the sun. Gentle, patient, welcoming. The travelers stepped closer. With each footfall, the arch shimmered faintly, responding to their presence with a slow pulse of brightness. The little creature's fur glowed faintly in the radiance, giving it a dreamy outline. Inside, the cavern was quiet, warm, and filled with light that came from no single source. Instead, it seemed to rise from the walls, the floor, the air, as though the entire space breathed illumination. Small crystals studded the stone around them. Some flickered softly, others shone with steady light, and a few shifted color like drifting clouds. The traveler felt no fear, only a deep, calm curiosity. Something ancient lived here, not in a way that threatened, but in a way that invited understanding. As the traveler walked deeper into the cavern, the light grew softer, more diffuse, bathing the walls in hues of silver, gold, and muted amber. The little creature trotted ahead, pausing now and then to look back, as if ensuring the traveler followed. At last, they reached a wide chamber where the cavern's ceiling opened into a high dome. From above, a single shaft of light descended like a column of dustless, glowing air. In the center of the chamber stood a figure, tall, cloaked in shimmering fabric that seemed woven from strands of light itself. The face beneath the hood was obscured, but not in shadow. Rather, in a gentle brightness, as though it glowed softly behind a veil. When a figure lifted their head, the cavern lights brightened just a little, like a greeting. Their voice, when it came, was low and melodic, a sound that carried both age and kindness. "You have walked far," the figure said, "guided by the quiet paths. Few reach this place without being called." The traveler said nothing, partly out of awe, partly because the tranquility of the cavern made words feel unnecessary. The figure stepped forward slowly. "This sanctuary," they continued, "is a place of remembering, a place where the world keeps its gentlest truths. Here, those who wander seeking peace may find the pieces they have forgotten." The traveler felt something stir within, a faint memory, like a leaf drifting through a dream. "But I do not seek treasure or power," the traveler said softly, "only understanding." The figure's smile warmed the air. "Then you have come for the right reason." A quiet gesture from the figure guided the traveler to the center of the chamber, where a shallow pool lay. Its surface shone like liquid silver, moving with the slow grace of starlight on water. "Look," the figure whispered. The traveler knelt, gazing into the pool. At first they saw nothing but shifting light, but gradually, images formed, not of places or landscapes, but of feelings, moments of calm they had known long ago, memories of safety, of quiet joy, of warmth shared with people whose faces were blurred by time. The images did not come as pictures. They arrived as sensations, like standing in morning sun, or hearing a gentle voice, or holding a cup of warm tea on a cold evening. The traveler's breath caught softly. A tear, not of sadness, but of recognition, slipped down their cheek. The figure spoke again, their voice echoing softly through the chamber. "These are the lights within you, the ones the world cannot dim, the ones that guide you even when you feel you walk without direction." The pool shimmered gently in response. "You carry peace in ways you do not always see," the figure added, "and the world responds to that peace. It opens to you because you move gently through it." The traveler let the words settle inside like warm stones placed in open hands. The figure extended a hand. In their palm lay a small crystal, no larger than a thumb, warm to the touch, glowing with a soft, steady radiance. "This," the figure said, "is not a tool of magic, nor a charm of power. It is a reminder, a piece of the sanctuary for you to carry. The traveler accepted the crystal. Its light pulsed faintly, like a quiet heartbeat. Whenever your path grows heavy, the figure murmured, look upon this light, and remember the calm you found here. It cannot guide your steps, but it can steady your heart. The cavern lights dimmed slightly, not fading, but softening, like a candle being cupped gently to protect its flame. The traveler bowed in gratitude. The little creature, sensing the moment, brushed its warm head against the traveler's ankle, making a tiny sound of contentment. You may go, the figure said, for your journey is not ending. It is unfolding. As the traveler walked back toward the archway of glowing stone, the cavern's light followed them, growing dimmer with each step, not as though vanishing, but as though returning to rest. Outside, the daylight greeted them with warmth. The cliffs still chimed faintly in the wind. The world felt wide again, open and full of soft promise. The traveler placed the crystal into their pocket, feeling its gentle warmth against their palm. The little creature scampered forward, turning to look back with bright eyes, ready to guide, ready to accompany, ready to see what quiet wonders the next stretch of the journey would bring. And so, with a calm heart and a steady breath, the traveler stepped once more onto the open path, moving toward whatever gentle discoveries awaited them next. The world was cool and golden when the traveler stepped away from the sanctuary of light. The cliffs behind them hummed faintly in the breeze, singing their soft, crystalline song as if offering a farewell blessing. The little creature trotted beside the traveler, its tiny paws pattering lightly over stone and sand. Every so often it glanced up with its glowing amber eyes, as if making sure the traveler was still walking with a peaceful heart. The crystal resting in the traveler's pocket gave off a warm, steady pulse, a quiet reminder of the sanctuary's gift, not a guiding force, not a tool of magic, but a gentle anchor of calm carried wherever they went. Ahead, the land stretched wide and welcoming. The first hints of distant plains shimmered on the horizon, and somewhere far beyond those, the traveler sensed, was home. But the journey held no urgency, only the steady rhythm of quiet steps, and the unfolding of landscapes softened by morning. By midday, the rocky desert paths gave way to open meadows, wide stretches of tall grass swaying in slow, soothing waves. The grass shimmered pale green, its tips kissed with gold, moving together like a single great breath. The traveler walked through it with gentle steps, each swish of the grass brushing softly against their legs. The little creature hopped in and out of the tall stalks, its small shape creating playful little shadows that danced over the ground. As clouds drifted lazily above, their shapes stretched across the meadow in long, drowsy shadows that shifted with the wind. Every so often, the traveler paused just to watch how the sunlight played across the land, brightening one patch, dimming another, painting soft shapes that moved with the breeze. Once, a single cloud passed overhead and wrapped the traveler in cool shade. The sudden softness, the way the world dimmed and hushed for that brief moment, felt like being embraced by the sky. The meadows seemed endless, but in a comforting way, as though it offered all the time in the world to walk, to think, to breathe. The traveler inhaled deeply, filling their lungs with the scent of warm grass and distant flowers. This land, too, felt familiar in a way they couldn't fully explain. Not in memory, but in spirit. Eventually, the meadow dipped into a shallow valley where a river wound its way across the earth in soft, sweeping curves. The water moved lazily, swirling around small stones, whispering its secrets to the banks. The traveler stepped to the edge and knelt to touch the cool surface. The water glided around their fingers with a gentle insistence, as though urging them to stay a moment longer. So they did. They sat on a smooth patch of earth, letting their feet rest in the river's shallows. The current was mild, brushing past them with a soothing, rhythmic flow. The little creature curled up beside them, its fur warmed by the sun, watching the ripples with sleepy interest. Birds dipped low over the water, wings skimming the surface in quiet arcs. A few reeds swayed nearby, clicking softly in the breeze. The traveler let their gaze soften, following the river as it wound out of sight. Its path was patient, unhurried, just like theirs. As the minutes stretched into a calm, timeless hush, a realization drifted into the traveler's thoughts, as gentle and natural as a falling leaf. They were no longer searching for something, no longer chasing a feeling or running from one. They were simply moving with the world, and the world was moving with them. When the traveler rose again and continued on, the meadows eventually gave way to forest. Not the whispering woods they had left behind, but a different kind of forest, softer and more familiar. The trees grew tall but wide-spaced, their branches reaching high like open arms. Leaves fluttered overhead in a calm, steady rustle, casting dappled shadows that shifted gently across the forest floor. As the traveler walked deeper, a warm recognition stirred, not a clear memory, but the sense of a place known long ago. Sunbeams slipped through the branches, forming golden paths that led forward in quiet arcs. The air smelled of pine and warm soil, carrying the faint scent of something sweet, perhaps wildflowers blooming unseen between roots. The traveler's steps slowed naturally, falling into harmony with the forest's rhythm. Each footfall seemed to land in the exact right spot, as though the path wasn't being found, but remembered. The little creature scampered ahead, occasionally stopping to look back with gentle insistence, as if trying to say, "You know this place, even if you don't know how." And the traveler did feel it, a warm thrum in their chest, a sense of being drawn not forward, but inward. As afternoon deepened, the forest opened into a wide clearing bathed in soft, golden light. The grass here was shorter, greener, sprinkled with tiny white flowers that nodded in the breeze. In the center lay a smooth stone circle, barely raised from the earth. When the traveler stepped near, a faint sound rose. Not quite whispers, not quite music. It was as though memories of laughter, of quiet conversation, of gentle voices long past, lingered in the air, echoing softly through time. The travelers sat on the stone and closed their eyes. For a moment, nothing stirred. Then the faint echoes returned, warm, familiar, soothing. Not words, nothing distinct, just the feeling of being surrounded by kindness. The traveler breathed out slowly. The weight of all their wandering seemed to settle, growing softer. In that clearing, in that gentle ring of sound, and sunlight, and memory, they felt a deep sense of belonging to the world, to the path, to themselves. The little creature curled at their feet, purring softly. A breeze brushed the traveler's cheek like a reassuring hand. And the traveler realized something very simple, very quiet, and very true. The path home wasn't ahead. It was already beneath their feet. When the traveler opened their eyes again, the sun had dipped low, painting the world in warm amber. The shadows stretched long and soft across the clearing. The travelers stood, heart steady. They did not know exactly what home would look like now, whether it would be a place, or a person, or a feeling. But they knew, with the calm clarity of still lake, that they were ready to return, not because the journey had ended, but because the journey had changed them. The little creature rose, shook its fur lightly, and looked up with soft anticipation. The traveler smiled. "Come," they murmured. "Let's follow the path a little farther." And so they stepped forward, back into the soft forest light, toward the long, gentle road that would carry them home. Evening drifted in with a softness that felt like velvet spreading across the sky. The traveler walked beneath the tall trees, their branches swaying in the calm twilight breeze, while small fireflies floated through the air like drifting embers of gold. The little creature trotted at their side, occasionally brushing its warm fur against the traveler's ankle. A quiet reminder that companionship had grown here, unexpected and sincere. As daylight melted into dusk, the forest dimmed to a gentle blue. Birdsong faded into faint chirps, and the soft hum of night insects rose in their place, creating a serene, natural lullaby. The traveler felt their hearts settle into an easy rhythm, each step light and deliberate. The path beneath them shimmered faintly in the moonrise, as though it, too, recognized that the journey was entering its final chapter. The world no longer felt wide and unknown. It felt familiar, almost like returning to a dream once forgotten. As night deepened, the forest changed once more. The trees grew taller, their trunks glowing faintly with bioluminescent moss that illuminated the bark in long, gentle streaks of green. Small orbs of light hung from their branches, not lanterns crafted by hands, but natural blossoms that glowed softly like captured starlight. They swayed gently in the night breeze, painting slow patterns of light on the path. The traveler placed a hand on one of the glowing trunks. It was warm, almost like touching the side of a sleeping animal, breathing quietly beneath the surface. The little creature's fur shimmered faintly in the soft light, making it look almost ethereal. The forest felt alive, but not in a way that stirred fear or wonder, in a way that soothed. A place designed for rest. The travelers slowed their steps, letting the glow of the lantern trees wash over them in long, calming waves. For a moment, they closed their eyes and simply breathed in the soft, sweet scent of night-blooming flowers. And when they opened them again, they saw it, a distant warm glow, deeper in the forest, steady and beckoning, a familiar glow. The travelers stepped through a final cluster of lantern trees and emerged onto the gentle rise of a hill. Below lay a village, small, quiet, and warmly lit, as though a handful of stars had settled gently upon the earth. Tiny cottages dotted the landscape, their windows glowing amber against the blue of the night. Smoke drifted lazily from chimneys. Soft voices murmured somewhere in the distance, gentle and reassuring. The traveler's breath caught with recognition. Though it had been long since they had seen this place, the feeling returned with ease, like slipping into a childhood memory. Home, not the idea of home, not the longing for it, but the real, living warmth of it. The little creature nudged the traveler's leg, as if to say, "You made it." And the traveler, heart full and steady, began the slow descent toward the village. The path leading into it was lined with small garden lamps, soft golden lights that flickered with friendly familiarity. Each step carried a gentle weight of nostalgia, yet none of it felt heavy. It felt right, peaceful, complete. As the traveler entered the village, doors opened slowly. Quiet faces appeared, some familiar, some half-remembered, some new, each one framed by the glow of lamplight. There were no loud greetings, no rushing crowds, no dramatic returns, just soft smiles, gentle nods, and warm eyes that said without words, "We're glad you're here." A few villagers stepped out to greet the little creature, who leaned into their hands with the ease of an old friend. Someone offered the traveler a warm cup of sweet herbal tea, steam curling softly into the night air. Its warmth seeped into their hands, then into their chest. The forest hummed quietly behind them. The sky shimmered with stars above. The traveler felt the journey settle inside them. Every step, every discovery, every quiet moment, all folding neatly into memory, like pages closing gently in a well-loved book. One of the villagers guided the traveler toward a small cottage at the edge of the village. Its door stood slightly ajar, warm light spilling onto the path. The traveler paused. This place, this door, felt like the ending of a long-forgotten dream. When they stepped inside, the air welcomed them like an embrace, filled with the scent of wood, flowers, and something faintly sweet from the kitchen. There was a simple bed in the corner, soft blankets piled high, as though waiting for the traveler's return. The little creature hopped gently onto the bed, curling into the blankets with a sleepy sigh. The traveler set down their pack, the crystal from the sanctuary glowing faintly through the cloth. Its gentle pulse filled the cottage with a quiet promise that peace found on the journey could be carried into stillness, into comfort, into rest. The traveler changed into soft, warm clothes provided by the villagers, then sat at the edge of the bed, running a hand through the creature's warm fur. For the first time in a long while, there was no path calling, no distant mystery tugging at their thoughts. Only rest, only home. When the traveler finally lay down, the blankets surrounded them in a cocoon of warmth. The cottage lamps dimmed slowly, one by one, until only a faint golden glow remained. Outside, the village settled into its own quiet slumber. Creaking wood, soft night breezes, and the distant hoot of an owl blended into a gentle nighttime lullaby. The little creature curled close, its tiny heartbeat steady and soothing. The traveler closed their eyes, and in the soft darkness, the glow from the crystal washed through the room like a tide of calm. The traveler breathed out, a long, peaceful breath, and let the quiet carry them. Thoughts drifted, warmth deepened, the world grew soft around the edges, and at last, slowly, gently, the traveler surrendered to sleep, held by home, wrapped in stillness, and cushioned by the memory of every quiet path that had led them here.